are back for another Nation show, the barbecue show we call it during the summer with the Montreal Canadiens. We have two co-hosts ready to rock and roll tonight. Mr. Marko Larabi back in the house, and of course the Enortap somewhere somehow downtown in Toronto. Welcome back, both of you. Thanks to be with the show tonight. Appreciate a lot for your time.
Coach, the tunes that you were playing, man, in the waiting room, man, they got me all jacked up.
I know. I'm fired up today. I don't know what's going on. We are Wednesday night, August 16, 2023. And we're not there yet. But yes, we're starting to talk a little bit more about hockey. We say about that. Until the Labor Day, we'll be a little bit quiet. But after that, I think we're going to rock and roll for the upcoming season 2023-2024. This is the last show of the week. We'll be back Sunday next week until Wednesday. What a great night last night with Michael DeVillano. Back in the house talking about something, prospect, player, junior, WHL, QM, everything like that. It was great to see Michael turn 38 years old yesterday. So congratulations, Michael DeVillano. He left the Hollywood star movies a couple of years ago. Now he's just targeting for something, a new project for him. Anyhow, let's talk about Montreal Canadiens tonight. Anything you want to talk a little bit more, Marko, before we start the show? What happening, Sam? We saw you not last Wednesday, but we saw you last Tuesday.
No, was it Tuesday? I think it was here for Wednesday, but it was the barbecue show, so we had a really nice barbecue tonight. We had some kebabs. I love saying that too. Kebab. Had some really good chicken kebabs. Yeah, had some good kebabs, and learning to use my new barbecue, like not overheating it, like just, it's like barbecue is like a woman, you have to kind of learn all the moves and kind of like what it needs to perform. And so I think I'm down with my new barbecue. So it was really nice barbecue, getting hyped for the Habs barbecue tonight. Really excited, Coach.
Did he come with a kind of music on it? Like you turn the barbecue on, but you can put the music at the same time. This is a new one, Smart barbecue. It's called a smart barbecue on the balcony.
Yeah, it tells you all the calories. It tells you all the calories you consumed on your barbecue over the summer. So I turned that feature off right away.
Talking about barbecue, Mr. Enortap, what kind of barbecue do you have at home?
A gas barbecue, propane.
Okay.
I have a propane one, actually. Yeah.
Does it exist again, Coleman? There's another companies called Coleman Barbecue, something like that?
No, it's a Weber.
Yeah, they're pretty big in the 1950s. 1950s.
I'm still have my equipment DR on my basement, so I'm still thinking that way for me.
Okay.
I think that Coleman, by the way, Coleman is about ice to go to at the picnic. No, Coleman, you bring all the inside of that.
The ice packs, the large ice box.
Here we go. We are currently out of the subject, but it's okay. Don't worry about that. We'll be back right away. We have a lot of people in the chat. Guys, don't forget, please, to click on the like. That'll be awesome. We have a couple of moderators in the house. First of all, Luciano GRAZIANO is in the house. Welcome back, Luciano. Thanks for being with our Canadian show. Our friend P.I. is in the house tonight. Welcome back, P.I. Sébastien is in the house. Look like the comments. Driver UPS Gary Cournoyer is in the house. By the way, talking about the UPS, I thought I saw Gary Cournoyer last night, yesterday afternoon on the street. It was my first time I see a truck UPS in Thailand. I never see one so far. So I was shocked to see a UPS driving on the street, on the beach yesterday. So I just want to say, right away I think about Gary Cournoyer. I said, is it Gary? I said, no, it's not Gary. So, but it's okay. It was Yan Shinkong. He was the driver of because I asked him his name. It was Yan Shinkong. So it's happened. Jacob Murray, ladies and Kevin, welcome back. We missed Stu Pidasso, by the way. I don't know what happened with Stu Pidasso. What happened with Dan and Colette? Directly from Winnipeg and Manitoba, Asham are in the house tonight. Welcome back, both of you. And our friend Kevin, RJ Calabro, back in the house. Welcome back, RJ. What about from Arvada downtown in the Denver area in the Colorado State? Our friend Woody Snyder is in the house.
Luciano thinks I look like Pat Quinn. He says that in the chat. I hope that my head is not as big as a young Pat Quinn. But Pat Quinn had the biggest in hockey. Like his head was massive. Is my head that big? I'm not Irish.
No, you're all good. Here we go. He's back in the house with his Polaris 440. William McLaren. Welcome back, William. Maybe somewhere, maybe one day, Marco, you're going to see him in your backyard. Pop up, show up very quickly behind you.
Feel free to pop up when you're in Hawkesbury on your ski-doo. Feel free to pop by.
There we go. Claude Richard, your ex-neighbor, Mr. Marco, is in the house. Welcome back, Mr. Claude Richard, the Bleu Blanc Rouge. Welcome. Glad to see you aboard. And then we have got what we've got here. Hey, Coach Renché, Enortap, Patron, Marco. Coach assist. Look, here we go. Mr. GP16 is in the house. Our friend Double T is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry back in the house tonight.
Hey, Terry.
Terry gave me all the great comments on my videos on the app Daily News, ladies and gentlemen. I love to see him. What about our friend Roy back in the house? Mr. Roy.
Welcome.
Roy is really knowledgeable about hockey, ladies and gentlemen. Roy gave me a lot of comments too in my video. He doesn't like too much the goaltender Montreal Canadiens, but he's really a big fan of the hockey. So glad to having him aboard tonight. Don't forget to click on the likes. And our friend, the moderator, Ron with Kings, back to back for Mr. Ron 20, directly from Utah. Big fan of the Los Angeles Kings. That's what's happening here on that show over there. It was last year crossing into Quebec. Here we go, Mr. I knew about that. So Jesse, watch him next year, Mr. Marco. William is going to go right. Maybe you can offer him some kind of coffee or something like that. You know, you can maybe start a new stand out in the backyard for people to ride the snowmobile or whatever it is. You know, a checkpoint. That'd be great. And we can send you we can send you Danny. He can sell some shrimp at the corner, of course, with you about this. Talking about coffee, we have coffee hockey in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, coffee. A lot of people, guys, talk about Carey Price. Carey Price, here we go. We have Carey Price. It looked like it's his birthday. I don't know if you heard about that.
Happy birthday.
38 years old, yeah.
Carey Price. The cowboy.
Happy birthday.
Say thank you.
Happy birthday.
10.5
Carey Price, 36 years old.
million. 10.5 million.
Here we go. Carey Price, 36 years old. And ask you one question for both of you and people in the chat. Describe Carey Price in one word.
10.5 million.
Relax.
Relax for Marco and Enortap.
10.5 million.
That's not one word, man.
He tried again to cheat again. That's why he win those friendship quiz. He cheat all the time.
It's one word.
Enortap, I thought you were going to say handsome. I thought you were going to say handsome.
No, I was gonna say David Reinbacker. That's it.
GP's a reserve for him. So Price is married to a wrong woman, Angela, for Luciano about that one over there for that one. So that's what we got, guys, about Carey Price so far. Do you think the app are gonna make the 2024 playoff question from Coffee, by the way? Before you answer, we're going to invite the people. If ever you have a question, guys, don't forget to put a little Q in front of your question, because during the time we talk, sometimes we forget your question. With a little Q, I can retrieve all your questions during the show and our mission is to always to answer each of your questions during the show. So it's a QA. We don't have a specific time. We do this all the time during the show. So don't hesitate to put the letter Q. And Coffee asks this question. Do you believe, Marco, the Montreal Canadiens are going to make the playoff for the season 2023-2024?
I don't think there's enough coffee in the world for the Canadiens to make the playoffs this year, Coach. But, I think Ken Hughes is on the record and, pretty much the whole organization that they expect to be better this year. But, no, I don't think they're going to be sniffing around a playoff spot this year.
Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think that this year is very realistic. And, so many things would have to go right for them and wrong for a number of teams, not just one or two, for them to make the playoffs this year. It'll even be tough next year, but I think next year is a little bit more realistic depending on what they do in the offseason and getting rid of one or two final contracts that they still have on their books.
Right.
Well, if Austin Matthews and William Nylander just walk away from the Leafs after this year because neither of them have signed their contract yet, Leafs fan must be freaking out by now, man. Those Leafs fans, oh my God, they must be freaking out. Matthews should have signed by now, right? But if those guys leave, then Toronto's going to take a step back, and maybe that opens up, one of those spots for Montreal.
Great comment about this. Mr. Conrad is in the house. Welcome back. And Rabinov knocked the door. Subject of the night, guys. We're going to talk about, see this. First of all, guys, we are 55 days before the season start for the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, we talk about the favorite player of Mr. Enortap, Michael Pesata. He is on the cover of the Hockey Nation tonight, on the show tonight. It's maybe not the ES Sport, but he did at least one cover on his live. He was the cover of the Hockey Nation on the YouTube channel.
I heard he was a finalist for the NHL 24 cover, but he didn't quite make it.
Yeah, he did not make the last final cut. He got cut before that. Hughes, the winner. I'm talking about the updated news, guys. Talk about Ken Hughes. Going to talk about this subject tonight, of course, about why I consider him the winner of the trade with the Detroit Red Wings, of course. And then let's talk tonight about the Montreal Canadiens. Petry, Byron, and Ken Hughes will be the first all the subject we got on that one over there. And if you follow, Byron retired after 12 years. We're going to talk about him the next couple of minutes. So that's what we got tonight, guys, on the show. And a couple of news around the league. Of course, we're going to mention this to you guys. Not a problem. Our friend Randy Walkman, co-host of the NHL of the Hockey Nation sometime, is back in the house. Welcome back, Mr. Randy. Thanks to be with Hockey Nation show tonight.
Oh, you're in trouble, Marco.
Uh-oh. Oh, the Leafs thing. Oh, sorry.
Now his wife just called him, so we have to go right away like this. So every time she hears this horn, he go right away in the kitchen to figure out what's going on over there. But we'll see. We have another question. William McClary for Mr. Enortap. Looking at the app this year, everything power play, PK goal again in the 28-20 league. I believe the app end up with a 65 point last in the East Utah draft.
I think they could do a little bit better than that. I had gone on the record as saying they could possibly hit 80 points, which would represent a 12-point increase from last year. But for that to happen, obviously, William, their power play is going to have to be much, much better. They're going to have to stay healthy. Some of the players are going to have to, step forward more so than they did last year. And hopefully there isn't much regression with any of the, the old sophomore jinx and the players that are there, that last year had a decent year. And hopefully they maintain that. But it's a tough division. And, on paper, it doesn't look that tough to get 6 more wins or 4 more wins and a few ties. But it's a challenge for sure.
Well, you know how much I love predictions. I don't know how many points they're going to get, but there's certain things that I'm going to be looking for this season. Ultimately it's improvement. You want to see certain things improve. So you want to see the special teams improve. St. Louis, at the end of the year last year, he talked pretty openly about the fact that he almost didn't even concentrate on the power play at all, just because there were so many other things for the team to focus on in terms of just their 5-on-5 play. So it would be nice to see some movement on the power play this year and see that progress. And I think one thing that we've seen over the last even 5-6 years with Montreal is they tend to go on these really, really long losing streaks. So what I would like to see happen is we know they're going to lose more games than they win probably, but I would just like them to be consistent, right? And not be able to break out of these long losing streaks, get out of the habit of these long losing streaks. So I don't know. I think they're good for between 70 and 80 points, I would say, depending on health and other things. But there's certain things like that I'm going to be looking for is consistency and see if they can improve in certain key areas of play.
Mr. Enortap, what will be your prediction? I predict you're going to set about 78 points.
80. I went on record as saying 80.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's
Coach
a lot.
Like that.
It's doable. It's doable.
It's not.
I think you predicted even higher, Coach.
Now here's what I did. I did a video about this. I think a couple of days ago about the fact like Montreal 2 years ago they finished at the bottom of the NHL at 55 points. Last year, with everything happening, you just, Marko, you nailed it when you said the streak and the injuries and that type consists the player have to step up and to consistently performing and develop and progress. And, they increased here 13 points last season without, honestly, injuries. And I don't think so. The goaltender was great at the end of the day. If you think about their save percentage, .901 for Montembeault and .896 or something like that for Jake Allen, right? So imagine if both of them play better as a goaltender and they just keep Caulfield and the player, everybody play a little bit better and you have not much injuries. With the new, with Martin Saint-Louis more, behind the bench now, learning more. I feel like Montreal Canadiens, if you think about this, Marko, you have 7 months in hockey, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. You have 7 months. Let's go with 1 month, 1 W more per month. Well, we're going to stop at 6 months. That gave exactly, Mr. Enortap, 12 points right there. I think the Montreal are doable to make at least 1 more W at the end of the day and to finish about approximately 80 points. Is it good enough to make the playoff? No, he's going to be about 12 to 14 points behind the last spot in the playoff in the standing for the upcoming season. We know we have 13 teams, I believe, or 12 teams make 100 points last season. But at the end of the day, I feel like Montreal could go that. If everything turned to be a normal season, I feel like so many injuries the last season is not normal. Yeah. And I don't know if you feel this way. I think for me, a 75 point, over 75 points, this is a progression of what I expect from the Montreal Canadiens. If other factors we don't see right now could make a team a little bit less of the opportunity for the end of the season and the standing. That brings us, let's see, 80 points. Last season, 80 points, guys, about approximately 25 in the standing. And next year, and that would be 32 to 28, 28 to 25. That will be at the bottom 10, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to be sure they are the bottom 10 for another great pick for upcoming season. And then after that, they can turn around and spend the money they have for them. So I don't know if you want to add something, Marko and Enortap, about my subject.
Well, I just want to point out, I want to push back on one thing you said there. Do you guys remember at the beginning of the year, when they were actually kind of winning, and for about a week or two, we're like, wait a minute, they're only 3 points from a playoff spot in October or November or something. I remember those days. That was kind of nice, eh? But anyways, in those days, we were actually saying that the goalies were actually kind of, distorting the play of the team. So if you look at Montembeault and Allen's save percentage throughout the whole year last year, then you're right. It wasn't, NHL caliber, in terms of being a number one. but there are points that they stole last year at certain points as well, right? So, I think it might balance out. That's another thing we'll be looking for this year is Montembeault really going to be able to play 55 games, like play a little bit more than he did last year and be able to keep up the momentum that he did at the World Championship and then towards the end of the year. So, Coach, I agree. Like, you could say there's certain teams that miss the playoffs because of bad goaltending, like Ottawa, like Pittsburgh, but I don't think that was the big problem in Montreal last year, to be honest. There are certain times where I think the goaltending actually made it look better than it actually was.
Great point about this. And Mr. Enortap, want to add something?
Yeah, I think if they could just stay healthy, for me, that's the biggest issue. If they could stay healthy, that alone translates at least 3 or 4 extra wins. You're right that the goaltending kept them in. Actually, I would say probably those first 45 to 50 games, Marco, they were actually, as you said, they were in a good position. I believe they had never lost 3 straight games in a row. So that consistency that you talk about was there. It wasn't until the second half, or at least the last third, I would say, of the year, where the pieces were sort of falling off and then the injuries accumulated. And then, you get to a point where, the quote unquote organic dumping starts and tanking. And so you can't really count that last 1/3 of the year.
Organic dumping is a totally different thing, I think.
Tanking.
Yeah. And we have a few people knock the door before we consider the subject, guys. So we have Larry Lavallee back in the house from upstate, and we have our Angel back in the house.
Welcome,
Luc Laperson is back in the house. Welcome back, Lucky. We have our friend A2. A2 is in the house tonight. Welcome back, A2. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Try to pick it up everybody else. Our friend Gary back in the house too. Gary, thanks to be with our Canadian show.
Welcome, everyone.
Try to get everything like that. I think, Gary, do you think Bergeron and Krejcik won where? Do you think Bergeron and Krejcik were to the top player on the Bruins? I don't think so. I think the Bruins would make it the playoff.
Yeah, well, they might not be the top players, but they're the 2 top centers. So,
yes,
their top players, namely, Pasternak, won't be as effective if they don't have somebody, kind of dishing them the puck like they're used to, right? So, yeah, they may not, Bergeron may not have been the best player on the Bruins last year, but I think it's still going to have a pretty huge impact not having Krejci and Bergeron for sure.
Yeah, one thing I would say to you at the time I'm typing here, but it was welcome back, Jake McEnwee, by the way. Like we talk about how far down they're going to be, the Boston Bruins, and you're absolutely right, without Bergeron, Krejci. But at the flip side, we said how good they're going to be, Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo, to get the gap between both. Those teams in Boston are going to be very close, and that could be the problem for the Boston Bruins. Not only the fact they lose 2 players, but the fact like Ottawa and Buffalo and Detroit are so much better. At the end of the day, go ahead.
I don't know if I put Detroit in that. So I don't know if I put Detroit in that Buffalo Ottawa category as much better yet. But I see what you're saying. But I think we're a little too soon on Detroit. I don't see them there yet. I don't like their
but my
rebuild.
point behind that, they are better, right? And my point was just like they are a team improved compared last season. That's what was like, you know what I mean? Like with DeBrincat, Cat, and then they add a couple of veterans like Comfort. We talked about them yesterday. I think they are a team could be have more points next season compared to last season. And it's not a team going to be honestly in the playoff, in my opinion. Again, still 1 more year, 2 more years before that. Who will be the Boston new captain? And 30 seconds, Mr. Enortap.
Well, I think if Marchand stays there, that's a possibility. I mean, it could be Pasternak as well, but I would give it to Marchand if I'm there.
McAvoy.
That would be my pick. Me too. McEnroy, it's just they go with tradition, usually Boston. So they go from, 30 years old, 35 years old. So I feel like they maybe go with Marchand and to said, okay, he may be there for 2 years. And then after that, they can go to McEnroy after that. But I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they go that direction. But if I have that decision myself, I would go with McEnroy. I think this is the thing what McEnroy is for the next 8 years, 7 years with Boston Bruins. So I would go over Brent Marchand. Marchand is a bit the Gallagher 2.0 in my opinion, not as a hockey player, but the fact what he bring on the table, off ice, on ice, and everything. So I think that will be an assistant captain. I think it will be a great situation, I believe, for the Boston Bruins. It will be interesting to see that. But we have to start to talk about hockey, about the Montreal Canadiens at some point. And a lot of people got pick it up here. Thanks so much for your question. Ottawa need a real coach, Luc Lafortune, about the Ottawa with DJ Smith. When they talk about Walkman, new captain, we have I have someone that pop up here. I said, oh, the Triple W is in the house. Welcome back, Mr. Triple W. And we have now the two on the left corner and the right corner, Mr. Willie Snyder and Triple W. They're going to be at some point the final of the WrestleMania of the Hockey Nation and October 26th. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later. When we're going to set up everything, the location, everything like that, the ticket will be sold and sell online. We'll give you all the information about this in the next couple of weeks. Anyhow, we talk about the trade between the Montreal Canadiens and the Red Wing happening yesterday. Jeff Petry with the returning of 50% of the Montreal Canadiens for the next 2 seasons, $2.343 million. And return Montreal got Gustav Langstrom. Langstrom at 24 years old, draft 38 overall pick in 2017, play 36 games last year, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. Play over 128 game in the NHL with 2 goals, 23 assists, 25 points. And Montreal got the 4th-round pick at 2025, and with conditional pick on that one over there. So our first impression, let's go with Mr. Marko about this.
Well, the reaction on Twitter, a lot of people found this trade a little underwhelming for sure, but I think you have to kind of zoom back and look at the whole trade to really kind of get the appreciation of it. I think everybody would again, remember last week we were debating about whether we know that Kent Hughes does not like retaining salary, right? So, I guess this tells you kind of, what with the cap world and what Petry's actual value was and how tight other teams are on the cap right now. But overall, like Lidstrom, and by the way, Coach, I'm impressed that you had the little squiggly thing on top of the O of his name. That's very professional. I'm sure he'll appreciate that if you watch it. But I think it's a good move. He's a serviceable right-hand defenseman. We all know kind of that's an area of need for the Montreal Canadiens. So Kent Hughes continues to add pieces, players that are between 21 and 24 years old that can potentially grow or contribute in the same window as the core of the players that they have. He spoke about this in the press conference. So overall, this particular trade, if you look at it just alone, is a little underwhelming. But when you look at the whole thing, it's a good series of moves by Kent Hughes. And if you talk to anybody across the NHL right now, I think the thing that they're most impressed is, Hugo. It's not like they've had any major wins, but they keep just stacking all these small little wins on top of each other. They win this deal, they win that deal, and then you start adding it all together. It's like you're building something, right? So this is just another building block, and you have to kind of zoom back to appreciate the whole thing.
Awesome to hear that. Mr. Enortap, what do you think about the trade from the Montreal Canadiens with Gary, with Jeff Petry?
Well, again, I don't think that you can just dissect it and look at it as a singular transaction here, because yes, it is a bit underwhelming when you look at it from that perspective, but you also have to figure in this equation, as Marko said, you got to look at the overall picture. And in 2 separate occasions, Petry has brought us a return. And in the same process, he gave us probably his best prime years here in Montreal while he played. And on top of that, he also was able to help alleviate or get rid of some of the big contracts that they were that they inherited from Bergeron era. So Bergevin, sorry. I think the most important thing that they did is they created they cleared up space for some of the younger players to come into the fold and show what they have, obviously, and start to develop and continue to develop with the team. And I'm talking about guys like Yolanen and Harvey Pinard. I think that's what the key behind all of this is. And last thing I want to add is I think he would have probably got a little bit more than what he did in this trade if you look at it one-on-one. But I think he did Petry a solid, as we saw in the press conference where he said, I'm going to try to get you and your family together closer back home. Well, he didn't specifically state Detroit, but that's a logical conclusion. I think Dallas and Detroit were probably the two most obvious destinations for him. And so they even retained some of the contract in order to make it materialize. So I think even that you have to look at it from I say the optics of it and what it does for Hughes as a general manager and attracting possible UFAs in the future. So I think it is a win-win situation for both players. The only thing I didn't appreciate, because I listened today to the Petry press conference he had in Detroit, and I thought he would have probably given a little bit more kudos and thanks to Hughes, and he didn't. That sort of, I thought, lacked a little bit of class. I think if he had just ended it off that way, he would have been he would have gone off yonder in Detroit and it would have rested a little bit better with me. But I didn't appreciate the fact that, he didn't even call him Hughes. He just said, "Oh, the Montreal GM." He didn't even call him by name. So I found that a little bit disturbing. Maybe I'm making more out of it than I should, but it's stuck.
You know what I found really disappointing too is that he never publicly acknowledged Coach for making him the 2022 Muppet of the Year, was it the Turkey Award winner of
Turkey
2021?
Award.
Yeah, the Muppet.
He never said anything publicly about that, Coach?
Oh yeah, he's on my wall beside Jack Campbell, and of course Kokanemi.
Yeah. Well, maybe KK will. We're still waiting to see if we can get KK on the show to react to his award from last year, but we'll see.
Talking about Kokanemi, Ron ask you, what's the best? Do the Habs still have the best prospect in the league?
The best prospect pool? No.
Pool.
I don't think they have.
No.
I don't think they have the best prospect pool in the league. I say most
top
people
10?
rank them. Yeah, they rank them in the top 10. So I'd say anywhere between 4 and 7 is probably where I would put them. I think it's the lack of elite talent. Like volume-wise, they probably rank 1 or 2. Like the amount of quality middling prospects, then they would probably be number 1, right? They probably in top 3 in terms of defensive prospects, like prospect pool. I think they're probably number 1 or number 2 in the league. But
yes,
you look at the forward prospects they have, it's but yeah, it's still something. We're all still excited about the prospect pool that we have, but let's not get carried away, right? There's a number of teams that also have very strong prospects pools. Like Anaheim is
Anaheim, yeah.
really something. Columbus has a nice prospect pool. There's a lot.
Detroit has a number of great kids coming up.
I don't like Detroit's as much. Buffalo, I really like Buffalo's prospect pool. You guys were talking about it last night, Coach. Like they have a similar problem to us where they have a lot of under 6 foot forwards, but they are loaded with skill, right? So Buffalo to me is a really I would place them probably in the top 5 in terms of their talent pool, their prospect pool. So nothing to scoff at the Habs prospect pool, but let's not get carried away. No elite talent, that's coming up, unless you call Reinbacher an elite defenseman. I think the jury is still out on that. We all hope that will be the case, but that's my.
It's funny because a team already in I think they are top 10, and they still have a lot of prospect like this. Is the New Jersey Devils. The Devils with Luke Hughes, Alexander Holtz, Stillman. It's really a team like that. Carolina Hurricane, another big team in NHL, possible could maybe win the Stanley Cup. Have a lot of great talent prospect. We don't talk yet. The defenseman guy, Nikishkin, an amazing, great player right now in the KHL. The goaltender, Kushakov, is another one over there. And I can go all the way with Jake Torrey, Jack Torrey, just the beginning of his career in NHL. Carolina always draft very well. Another team is a little bit not there yet, but they have a lot of good players. Is Dallas Star. They always draft really well at the level they draft. They've never been at the top 20. They always between 18 to 28. But they draft like Sekoven, Johnson. They always do very good over there. This is a team with prospect. I want to share it with you guys about that. Let's move on for the next question we got here before we move on to the next subject. Gary asked you this question. What is Yzerman doing? Very confusing at the best trading for Petry. Does he think they will make a run for the cup?
I think he's just buying them time. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, they have 3 very good prospects defensively that are on their way up, plus Kosa as well, net. So I think this is just going to buy them some time to get to that stage. I think Yzerman has realized that perhaps he doesn't have a playoff-bound team just yet, and it'll take a little bit longer than they anticipated. Yeah, some of the moves were confusing. I'll agree with that. Last year seeing Hronek leave, and I think that created some of the problems that enabled them to go searching elsewhere. It put guys like Sherratt in the wrong spot. He was playing with Seider at the beginning of the year, and that kind of stunted his development. And we saw an improvement in the second half of the year with Seider when Sherratt was playing, I believe, second pairing or even the third, if I'm not mistaken. So that should help a little bit. But again, you're looking at 4 guys I think it's 4 guys, 3 for sure, on defense that are over 32 years of age. So that part doesn't make much sense to me in terms of what he did there.
Awesome. Great comments. Go ahead.
I'm not sure I should talk about the Wings anymore because KLS is getting mad at me every time I shit on the Red Wings. So I'll stick with Enortap's comments.
Yeah. Anyway, we talked a lot about them yesterday, so let's move on for what we got tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. Ab 21 pick in the next 2 drafts. That's 39 pick in the 8 years. When do you think the Ab really start to will and deal them?
I'm with you, brother.
This summer, I believe.
That's what I've been saying. Yeah. That's what I've been saying, man. Like, I can't believe, like, honestly, guys, I'm shocked that we used all the picks that we had or that we accumulated. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was watching the draft. I'm like, he's going to trade some to next year. He's going to do something. And he did trade some of them. Like, he did New Hook, right? Some people, we'll see how that works out. But like I said, like we've talked about this several times, Coach. I don't think you agreed with me, but there's only 50 contracts, right? And that you can have at any given time. There's going to be at some point we're going to have to try to package some of these prospects up. You know, I used to be able to say prospects and picks, but all those picks are gone. We use them. The more I think about it, the 2023 draft, you know, I don't know. I guess because the other draft was so exciting in 2022 when we had all the big moves and everything. But I feel it's a bit of a wasted opportunity. Like, we drafted a lot of, you know, overage players. We drafted, I think, 3 or 4 goaltenders in the last draft. So I'm with you, William. Like, there's going to be a lot of traffic in the pipeline here. And but one thing that Hughes did say in the press conference, which I was hoping is kind of a bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come, is he said exactly that, right? He said this allows us maybe in the future, maybe to even overpay to add a piece when we're going to need it to compete. So to me, you know, it makes me feel a bit better knowing that he recognizes that there's a little bit volume, like there's almost like too many prospects, and none of them, like we said, are elite. You know, so yeah, so I'm with you, William, 100%. Hopefully that at some point when we're ready, they'll be able to start, you know, packaging some of these off. But it's not PlayStation, right? Even though NHL 24 is being released in a couple of weeks. You know, Bergevin used to always say it's easier to make a PlayStation type trade where you add all these players in a bundle and then you can trade them for one really good player. It doesn't always work like that, but hopefully they'll be able to kind of do something like that.
It's asset management, and he's so far he's really excelled at it. Hughes has. And I mean, that's the direction you have to go in at some point. Like, you're going to have to package some of these prospects or even some of the picks, more so the prospects, I think, and go after the players you want. And like we said, next summer, there's some very interesting names that are going to be UFAs, and we'll see if they go after them. I suspect they will.
Austin Matthews. Right, Randy?
Arizona.
We have a few people knock the door. Welcome back. We have KLS. Welcome. Roger is in the house. Thanks so much to be a part of the show. A2 talk about the Arizona as a good prospect pool. I agree with him about this. I disagree with Randy about the Kings. For me, they were before like 2 years ago, but now with the loss of Villari, the loss of Dorsey, the loss of the other player went to the so I feel like they don't have those kind of players anymore. I know they have Brent Clark is coming for the upcoming season. I don't think so. The Kings are the same level they was like 2 years ago with the top prospect they have. Villiers has already been in NHL. Anderson, of course. But I feel like the Kings are not there. I don't know if you feel the same way like I'm thinking.
Yeah, and also they missed on some too, right? Like we've talked about Turcotte kind of missing, and you know, yeah. So, and it all depends how you define prospect, right? Like usually my definition is somebody who's played less than say like 20 games in the NHL, or there's different ways that you can define what a prospect is, you know. But LA, like most of their prospects, you know, like have come to fruition, like they're ripe and either playing in the NHL already, other than Brent Clark, like you said. But Brent Clark, I think there was like a ranking, I think on the Athletic, of like the top 10 or top 20 prospects in the NHL coming up, and I think Brent Clark was like in the top 5. So that's talking about elite assets. So LA might not have the volume of prospects in their pool, but I would, you know, other than maybe Reinbacher, I would pretty much trade any of our prospects for Brent Clark, right? I would trade 3 of them for Brent Clark. Like, that's an elite. He's going to be an elite offensive defenseman. So that's what Montreal's missing. Cool.
Rick Kane in the house will come back about this. I think A2 we take a goaltender and make them look better where a few are far off between. I want to finish with that subject about the Montreal Canadiens, about the one you're going to trade them. Here's what Ken Hughes said at the beginning of when he got hired, and I can recall this again. He said, "We're going to give all the players all the tools they need to be sure that we develop them to the max they can reach. And I think that's what they do right now. They don't want to give up players without knowing really what is the ceiling for that players. So I feel like for me, they will continue to keep them until they can, or they really believe they still have no role for the future with the Montreal Canadiens. So for me, I don't see they will press really. They're ready to or trade him. They will see. They want to see what it really look like under the management they have, like Nicolas or Pellerin or Bouillon, Poulain, those coach Byron now, Paul Byron. I feel like that's what Ken Hughes is going to do with the NHL, with the draft they have, the players they have, prospect they have under the hockey club and Laval Rockets. A lot of people in the chat, we're going to consider what we're doing here. Thanks so much, everybody, to be a part of the show. Don't forget, guys, click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. Hughes want to fit the price under the salary cap this season. We're going to talk about this the next few minutes. Guys, stay with this. I'm going to show to you the long-term injury reserve, the LTIR, and the reason behind that. The wing, again, does not have that elite prospect in the last 7 years of the draft. Maybe SLATER, not really about that one over there. They don't have the prospect as a forward, but they have great hockey players, and I think SLATER could become that kind of players prospect for the defenseman. I think he could become a top elite at some point SLATER, and they expect Edvinsson to become a very solid defenseman. But again, they have a lack of the top players, like McDavid, Ballard, some kind like that, the player McKinnon, Matthews, you know what I'm talking about. So that's what they don't have yet. They are a little bit the same boat like the Montreal Canadiens with Zuski and Doc, but they have Casper, Danielson they got now, they are Larkin, but Rasmussen could be another one, but they don't have that kind of player you talk about, William. That's a great point and mention about that for sure. Then what we got in the chat, we're going to continue what we're doing here. The next subject I want to talk about, guys, is about this one, is for the press, Ken Hughes press conference. But before we go there, guys, I'm going to bring you to someone else here. Paul Byron retired after 12 years in NHL. His career is 521 games, 98 points, 110 assists for a total of 208 points. We know Paul Byron, it was drafted by the Buffalo Sabres, 179 overall pick, 6th round, and 2007, by the way, played with the Gatineau Olympic in the backyards of Marko. Byron, he produced 20 goal back-to-back season with 43 points, 35 points. What do you feel about Paul Byron? Let's start with Enortap.
Well, I find that, when it was a great move when Bergevin picked him up off of the waiver list, I think from Calgary, if I'm not mistaken. And he came here and he reinvented himself. I mean, he always had the speed, and that obviously creates opportunities for you when it comes to being part of every play. He made himself a very good penalty killer as well. Scored a number of key goals. The most recent of which we know from the playoffs when they scored that shorthanded goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Game 6, off his knees as well. Great goal. But, I mean, here's a guy that never complained and just worked hard day in and day out. Gave his utmost to the cause and loved being in Montreal. And I still think he loves being here. And I think they're going to find a spot for him in some capacity in managerial position, perhaps, maybe an agent, maybe a scout, or perhaps working with the development of some of the prospects. But, I tip my hat to him because I think he epitomizes what, a good hockey player should be all about. Going out there, giving your most, and never complaining, and he was extremely well received in Montreal because of, if there's one thing Montreal Canadian fans recognize and appreciate, it's effort, and that makes up for lack of skill sometimes.
Hey man,
Marco?
you nailed it. Man. That's 100% agree with everything you said. And like, I agree 100% that if I think Paul Byron, that's the first thing I'll think of is him diving and poking it over poor Jack Campbell. And then I pictured Jack Campbell crying in the dressing room for many hours, which kind of puts a bit of a smile on my face. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Paul Byron, he is the epitome of somebody who, is, fights through all the odds and worked really hard to kind of get where he wants to go. Um, you know, Prototypical kind of, I think the thing most people call him is like the Swiss Army knife. And that's exactly kind of what he was, playing up and down the lineup. To me, my biggest takeaway is I just hope he's okay. I think at the end of the year last year, he was talking a little bit about kind of what his quality of life is right now, and not even being able to, lift his kids, play with his kids. I think he spent a lot of time with Carey Price. I think he was one of the saddest people to see Carey Price move out of Montreal. I think him and his wife were really close friends with Carey Price. They probably have a lot in common. Shared, not only did they play on the same team and share a lot of the experiences, but living with pain, living with being outside the lineup. So first and foremost, I just wish him a healthy retirement, and hopefully he's able to kind of get healthy and enjoy the rest of his life. I agree with Enortap. It's quite likely that I see him as more of a player development coach. Last thing I'll say, coach, is it was a bit clumsy. It reminded me a bit of when everybody shit all over Jonathan Drouin when he did this for Shea Weber's retirement. But I was a little surprised that Kent Hughes answered that question that the reporter asked him about whether Paul Byron had confirmed to him that he was going to retire. I thought that was a bit clumsy by Kent Hughes for him to say, oh, yeah, he did confirm that. And then when the reporter seized on that question, he's like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure Paul would like to announce his own retirement. That was a bit clumsy. It's pretty rare that Kent Hughes is, I would be critical of him, but that was probably, I'm sure he didn't plan going into that press conference and accidentally revealed that Paul Byron was retiring. It's a pretty important thing for a player, and I'm sure Paul Byron would have wanted to do it himself. So that was my only takeaway is hopefully he has the opportunity to do it his way, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. Sometimes you get, you don't expect those kind of questions, and you have maybe a conversation yesterday with Paul Byron about the new job with the Montreal Canadiens. So that's maybe I always said to you, I don't see like, I understand your point of view, but I don't think so. It was like something Ken Hughes want to create or make some kind of...
No.
You know what I mean? So I can understand the point of view about that. So it makes sense to me. We have a few people in the house, guys. Paulo back in the house. WST is in the house. Welcome back, both of you. Thanks to be with us tonight. I see A2 a little bit earlier before that. We have Mark D is in the house with the line on Montreal Canadiens. Great conversation, guys, tonight in the chat. I love it. Keep constant, guys, to put up some question or talking each other about the Montreal Canadiens. We are here every Sunday night and Wednesday night for the rest of the year talking about the Montreal Canadiens. So this is the place to come here those nights talking about your team, the Montreal Canadiens. The next thing I want to talk about, guys, tonight is Logan Mailloux. Nobody knew this until yesterday. They already met the commissioner, Gary Bettman. For the last couple of weeks, we questioned a lot of questionable questions. A lot of time we question about the fact, like, when he's going to meet Gary Bettman. It was then done at the beginning of July. And nobody talked about this. It was really secretly mentioned by anybody around the Montreal Canadiens. And now they're just waiting for the answer of Gary Bettman. So I would like to hear from you, and after what you think about this. If you somehow it get out yesterday by Renaud Lavoie on the TV Sport. But before that, I did not hear anything about that meeting between the Montreal Canadiens, Logan Mailloux, and Gary Bettman. So what is your first statement about that?
Well, it surprised me too, because I thought that they were Bettman was sort of waiting on direction from Montreal in terms of when they wanted to meet with him. But it speaks maybe to the possibility that this guy is developing a little bit more a little bit quicker than we anticipated. And you know, even though it's going to be tough to make the lineup this year, there might be opportunity at some point during the year for him to come up and be a part of the team, and you know, sort of you know, acclimatize him a little bit more with the players that he's going to be with, and I think he's going to have a good year down in Laval as well. It's interesting. We'll see how it develops in the near future, but I don't anticipate any problems in terms of reinstating him. I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion, because they've done their due diligence in terms of making sure that, you know, he sort of did what he had to do in terms of his stints that he had to do. He's vocalized that, you know, that's a thing of the past with him, and that he looks forward to, you know, contributing as a positive citizen to not only the team but to society. So I think it's just a matter of time before he's formally reinstated.
Marko?
Well, you know, I hope you're right, Enortap, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Like, I kind of had that same line of thinking all summer, right? Like, okay, it's just a formality that they're going to do that. But I was thinking about that yesterday. Like, you know, he didn't let Quenneville come back in the NHL. You know, I'm pretty sure Stan Bowman is itching to get back into the NHL.
Matter.
I know it's a different matter,
issue
but
altogether. Yeah.
I know it's not the exact same thing, but maybe it shows you a little bit the the care and the kind of like hesitation, or I guess kind of like the conservative approach that maybe Gary Bettman is being told to take with matters like this from a PR perspective, from a public relations perspective. So I don't know, like hopefully the Quenneville and Stan Bowman and maybe a couple of other examples too, decisions that Bettman made are not a precursor to what's going to happen with Mailloux. I don't think it will. I'm not trying to be alarmist, but I'll say that I'm like, I don't know, 15% less confident that he's going to be reinstated this year. I'm not like, you know, I still think it will happen, but it should be interesting to follow. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Gary probably has a bunch of lawyers and public relations people, you know, telling him, you know, they probably have polls from fans about how they feel about things, and so it's not just Gary Bettman meeting with someone and deciding. He has a whole bunch of conciliaries and consultants that give him advice on this kind of stuff. So who knows what kind of advice he's getting? But I'm sure that, you know, Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes have I think from reports that they have a pretty strong relationship with Gary Bettman. So I think they'll do a good job of representing to the league the work that Logan Mailloux's done, the work that they've done in terms of getting him into the programs, you know, that will hopefully get him to not just rehabilitate what he did, but to also contribute back to society so that other people can learn about how to avoid being in the situation that he was and not doing that. So we'll see. I don't like to speculate too much, but like I said, I'm like slightly less like 100% confident than I was before I heard.
I think Montreal is confident that he's grown and matured, you know, which is probably, you know, sort of the reason why they even offered him the contract last fall at the end of the training camp. So those are key indicators for me. I think we got to consider, you know, I mean, the guy, I think he just turned 20 right now, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he's going to play for the majority of the year with the AHL and Laval. And like I said, he'll probably at some point will be up for a small short stint, whether it's because of injuries or towards the end of the year when they increase their roster a little bit and are able to bring up some of their AHL players. So it'll be interesting how he develops, as we mentioned. But as long as he just stays the course, I think it'll be okay.
Sweet. We have a few people in the chat. The captain, Danny T, is in the house. Welcome back, Danny. And Nicolas de Gobi-Bono. Welcome back, both of you. Thanks to be with the Hockey Nation Live Show. We appreciate a lot talking about hockey with us tonight. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like if you don't mind. They're great. A lot of people talk in the chat. Great conversation. And they are conversation the last couple of minutes. The time you guys you talk, I always listen to you really attentively to be sure what you said. But they talk about Jonathan Drouin, Likonen, and New Hook. First of all, they said they want to know how many points do you expect Jonathan Drouin? Do you expect him to play on the first line with Nathan McKinnon? What are your expectations about Jonathan Drouin? And Ken McCall opened a little bit kind of conversation about Jonathan Drouin, where he does not know personally Jonathan Drouin, but he is really excited to have Drouin in the team. He heard a lot of great things about Nathan McKinnon. He really pushed to get Drouin with the Colorado Avalanche for the upcoming season. So what is your expectation about Jonathan Drouin? Let's start with Mr. Marko.
Well, in the category of sleepers, in your fantasy league, Jonathan Drouin should absolutely be somebody that you would be picking, in the later rounds, somebody that, probably is not going to be on the list, of players that have the amount of points that should be picked in a pool or whatever. So what I mean by that is, yes, I think he'll certainly be more productive than he has been in Montreal over the last couple of years in that environment. I don't think, knowing Jared Bednar, watching how he runs that team, I don't know if they're going to put him right up there. How would if you're a teammate, if you're part of that team, how do you feel like, okay, so will teammates feel like, okay, here's McKinnon's buddy from junior, he's going to come right on and play on the first line. Like, I don't know, maybe I think for sure any coach is going to want to make his GM look good. And, it's not like they paid a lot to get Jonathan Drouin. So it's not like, but I don't know. It should be interesting to see. I think there's no question that at some points during the year with injuries and things like that, I'm sure he'll play on the first line at certain points of the year. If I was Jared Bednar, I'm not sure that's where I would put him to start. I would want to see him kind of earn his way up the lineup a little bit. In terms of points, he's like a 0.75 points per game kind of guy, even, on a bad team. So yeah, I could see him if he plays regular minutes, I could see him getting 60 points. 65 points maybe.
And I'll tap.
Well, if you look at his production over the years, I mean, he can consistently put up, 50 plus points, no problem. And, he's shown it in Tampa Bay. He did it in Montreal when he wasn't riddled with injuries. And I suspect he can do it with a better equipped team like Colorado, no problem. My biggest concern is, does he show up when the games count? And I think he's almost the antithesis of what McKinnon is. McKinnon does show up. I don't think Drouin will. That's always been sort of my beef with Drouin. I think that, I don't know. Some players just don't have that in them. He's a guy that will definitely help Colorado, no doubt about that. I think he's a great person as well. I just don't think he shows up when the games count the most, and that could hurt Colorado, especially if they decide to put him higher up in the lineup, which I don't anticipate if he's not producing.
Yeah, great comment for both of you. The fact you're talking like this, I was thinking about it from ways where I was said, look, Jonathan Drouin is what he can really match Rantanen and McKinnon is the way he passes the puck, right? He controls the puck. Yeah. He's a great skater with the puck, and he can distribute the puck to the left, to the right, and McKinnon and Rantanen can score. So this is the first thing. My only problem when I'm thinking that way, so this is a great spot for Drouin. But you have to take the other way on that side, where on this defensive zone coverage, when you team at home, you'll be fine. But on the road, when the opponent team put their best players against that, I'm not sure Drouin can respond very well on the defensive zone coverage. It's something like Jared Bent now I have to decide. But that would be my only concern. Otherwise, I see Drouin me 10 goal max, but approximately about 40 assists, and that will give him approximately 50 points if he play on the top 6 and if he play on the power play unit number 1. That would be something, of course, the color of advantage, because honestly, he's going to get a point power play. But remember, guys, the puck, who has the puck? It's McCarr. That's happening there. McCarr distribute the puck very well. So what happening with that line would be Rantanen, McKinnon, McCarr, and now maybe a spot for you have Owenson, by the way, is now with the team. We forgot about him a lot. And I think that will be really interesting what Bedard is going to be for me, but Drouin is going to get about 50 points for the upcoming season. For sure, a lot of people in the chat, don't forget, get to click on the likes, and don't consider talking about a great contents, a great conversation about hockey in the chat. And then we have other thing I want to talk about, guys. Well, this is a quick news. The ad partnership between the CN Transportation are going to use the new name of the complex Sportive, and Brassard was the facility for the Montreal Canadiens where they practice the morning and all kind of stuff like that. So this is a new partnership. CN Transportation, one of the longest history in Canada for transportation, over 100 years, signed a partnership to get that name there. And finally, I want to finish with Ken Hughes, and I'm going to talk, this is my biggest subject for tonight. We know Marko talked about the press conference happening yesterday for Ken Hughes on the Zoom. And when you go a little bit more deeper about the trade, everything like that, I want to show to you guys why I call the winner Ken Hughes, in my opinion, why the reason I call him the genius Ken Hughes. And let's move on from the next graphic. We'll see what we got for you guys for that. First of all, guys, Ken Hughes, his first priorities, it was to be sure he go out with a salary cap. This is what he was looking for when he got a job. How they can shred the salary cap so they don't have those kind of problem in the next 2 years. This is what he's really tried to work on it. And I think that's one reason I believe I call him the genius, and that's the reason they trade Jeff Petry for the Detroit Red Wings. First of all, guys, just give you an idea about Jeff Petry, not Jeff Petry, but let me open up this one there before that. For Montreal Canadiens, guys, they got Mike Madison, Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, Gustav Lindstrom, and 3 picks for the return of Jeff Petry. And then they get out Mike Hoffman, Ren Pitlick, and Rand Pullen. So that's pretty much what Jeff Petry did with Ken Hughes did with only one player, Jeff Petry. It's pretty amazing if you think about that. Not many GM can do that. He did it. And of course, I want to talk about the salary cap, like I mentioned to you about that. And the salary cap is this part. The long-term injury reserve season and the off-season. This is the reason people don't understand. I will try to explain this to you in 1 minute, and then you guys should give me some comments about that one over there. And a long-term injury reserve, when you put the players during the off-season, like Carey Price. All right? Carey Price carrying a contract at $10.5 million. So what happening if they put Carey Price like they did last year? They put Carey Price, guys, during the off-season. So the Montreal Canadiens, their cap go from $83 million to $91.5 million. I give you an approximately a number there. Honestly, it's 10% max you can reach during the off-season. So 83.5 plus 8.35, the total, I just give you $91 million. So the October, once they start the season, Montreal Canadiens are going to be close at $83.5 million. And if they put Price on the beginning of the season on the book, right, the trend between the off-season and long season, Montreal Canadiens are going to get at $83.5 million. Then they put Price on the long-term injury reserve October 12th. Now the salary cap dropped at 73.5 approximately. And that will give Montreal Canadiens some kind of move they can do in the future. And that's the reason I believe it's really important what Ken Hughes tried to accomplish for the Montreal Canadiens in the last 18 months, how he did that. But first, he traded Shea Weber. That was his biggest problem, about $7 million. That's the reason you don't want to have players on the long term and you book and you salary cap. It's not help the team. And that's the reason I believe that Ken Hughes do is, I call him the genius, because he find a way to maximize his salary cap and only in 18 months with fun trade he make with the Montreal Canadiens. So I don't know if you want to add something there, Marco, before I continue talking about Ken Hughes.
I think that's a really good. It is a complex thing. Bottom line is that it makes more sense for Montreal to wait to put Carey Price on the LITR when the season starts. There's more value for them doing that. But as they alluded in the press conference, that they're going to have to make some type of other move in order to do that too, right? So he's going to have to move some salary out or find some way to do that. Unless there's I think that's maybe when the Paul Byron conversation came out, or it was around that part of the conversation or in the press conference. But yeah, they might have to make one more move in order to still be cap compliant when the season starts, so that they can then put Carey Price on LITR on October 12th.
Yeah, I will give you an example here. That's a great question, by the way, Marco. They don't have to. They tried to trade Casey DeSmith is $1.8 million, but let's see they keep him example. So October 10, 1 or 2 days before the season starts, what are they going to do? They're going to send all the players, Jekai, Harris, Sakaski, all the waiver exam, all of them. There are 5 of them RHP. That will accumulate them the money they need to be under the salary cap. So they will drop at 83.356 example. And then after the season start, they put Carey Price on the LTR, and then they call back everybody back in the team, and they are now going to be maybe at $75,000, $76,000. That will give them a flexibility to have for the upcoming season. This is the way they want to do this. That's my expectation for that. I don't know if you want to add more, Marco, or then after that, Enortap.
Well, the only thing I'll say is I'm glad I don't have John Sedgwick's job, because I hate math. I hate math. You didn't tell me there was going to be a whole bunch of math on the show, Coach. But that's okay. No, I agree. That's a really good creative way to do it, and that's what John Sedgwick gets paid to do, right? Cook the books, come up with creative ways to move money around. So however they do it, that's definitely the plan, is to try to maximize the rules so that they can have the most, where you get the flexibility, from what I understand, is at the end of the year. It allows you to have more accrued cap space in order to make moves, so that you can maybe pick up an extra contract to get an asset and things like that, right? So it just adds more flexibility. Last thing I'll say, Coach, yes, this is good. All the moving Shea Weber was a good move and all that, but I wouldn't call him a wizard. I would reserve the term wizard if he was able to trade Armia or Gallagher. That would be maximum level wizardry if he would have been able to move Armia or Gallagher. That would have been ninja master moves, to really clear up cap space. It's very skillful, and it's a lot of good progress just in the year that he's been there. But I would reserve the highest level of ninja superstarness if he was able to move one of those really ugly contracts like Armia or Gallagher.
I don't think so they can trade Gallagher. I think so. For what they have, it's not bad right now. Whatever they trade Armia, it's not changed anything. Right now, they have no bad contract hurt the Montreal Canadiens. This is the reason I said, for me, he does the right thing. He moved the right things at the right time to give them the chance to be under salary cap right now. Then after that, they're going to attack more. The 3 players I'm thinking about, they are honestly Armia, and then Dvorak. I exclude Casey DeSmith, right? And then Jeff Petry before that. So it's really Armia, Dvorak, Josh Anderson, and Jake Allen. You can add David Savard if you want to, and then after that, you have to go with Gallagher.
You have Josh Anderson on that list?
Yes. I think Montreal Canadiens at some point, because he can run at $5.5 million for the next 4 years, and he produces only 20 goals. I think at some point, this is the year I believe they're going to figure out if they want to keep him or not. If he keep consistent to be a regular player at 20 goals, at 5.5, that would be better to get him out and to get a player can score 40 goals, to get that money, add the $4 million they have some point, and then you get a player at $9 million over Josh Anderson, because at 20 goals, 5.5, he could not play on your top 6. It's not good enough, in my opinion.
I didn't know hockey was just about scoring goals, but I think again, Josh Anderson, has he always delivered the full physical game that we would like him to? But again, coach, we know, a player's value is not just measured by points, right? So for me, 5.5 million for somebody who could score 15 and 20 goals and be a physical presence, and do all the things that he does, potentially, if they can add more value by having him kill penalties and things like that. I still think, because of the prospect pool, like we've been talking about, it's a smaller prospect pool, smaller team. I think the Habs really value Anderson really high. I think Kent Hughes could have traded Anderson at the trade deadline and not just at the trade deadline, but several other times, right? And so, coach, so listen, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. You're using the word wizard, and I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. So, to me, a wizard is like the highest level that you can get, right? So to me, to be a wizard, you'd have to be able, I know it's hard to trade Gallagher, but
give him time, Marko. Give him time. Give him time. He'll get there. Yeah. But he even alluded at it in the conference that he just had, that something is in the works, but he couldn't explicate on that. I wouldn't be surprised. One team that comes to mind is Boston. They're missing 2 centermen. Well, we have Dvorak, we have Monahan. Those are distinct possibilities. We didn't talk about Monahan in all this exchange here, how he fits in. And I don't think he fits in with Montreal's future either. So don't be surprised if something, arises out of there. With regards to Anderson, I would tend to agree with Marko on it, because there's more to his game than just scoring. And I think as long as he doesn't lose an edge on his speed, and he's kind of tried to reinvent just playing north-south that he's demonstrated over the years. Eventually, after a couple years, you could see him even on a penalty kill situation with his speed and his ability to score, because he has very good hands once he's in close. So I think he'll probably be here for the long haul, unless something major comes along that they can't sort of refuse. But it'll be interesting. I think that there's something going to happen before the beginning of the season. And if we go back to that graphic about Petry that I sent you, Coach, there, the story's not told there yet. Either DeSmith or Allen will probably be traded before the beginning of the year, and that's going to bring some kind of assets in our direction as well. So, like I keep saying, Petry is the gift that keeps giving to Montreal. So, keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing too on Josh Anderson, we can't forget he wants to play in Montreal too, right? Like, he loves playing in Montreal, and that goes a long way too, man. Like I know he's not French Canadian, so French Canadian fans might not view him as a good that she knew and all that, but he's his dad is a Habs fan, he's a Habs fan. There's a lot there's something to be said for somebody who really wants to play there. So to me, I think Kent Hughes and Martin Saint-Louis do regard Josh Anderson high. I see people in the chat here, saying it's one of the worst contracts in the league. And some people have said that on The Athletic. I'm sure you can look at certain metrics and say that. I'm not a big believer in, if you just look at point totals and plus minus or whatever, if you just look at certain points. But again, with the cap going up, I don't see this contract being a big problem for Montreal. I'm much more worried about Gallagher's contract than I am about Anderson.
Of course, you don't about. I would bet again. I don't think so. Anderson is going to be the key for me is this year. If he's still to be a 30 point at 20 goal, it's not good enough. At $5.5 million, you take that money and go get a top 6 players. Go get someone who can contribute more. And Audrey Palat, what he did with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and when he was winning the Stanley Cup. Anderson is not there yet, and he's just starting to learning. And if he cannot improve and to progress at the level they want him to be, I think Montreal Canadiens are going to trade him at some point and get something bigger and return to be sure another asset they're looking for. If not, at Anderson third line at $5.5 million, it's not good enough, from my opinion. It's too much money on that one over there. Like Gallagher is at $6.5 million at the third line. That's too much. But they are stuck with Gallagher. And to have two players like him, and now they carry on $12 million on your salary cap, and both of them produce what? We'll see what Gallagher is going to do. I think at some point, Montreal are going to consider possible to trade Anderson. I understand what he brings on the table. He tried to give them TOI. He did well at the end before he got hurt. I understand that. But if he can be that player, no problem with that. But if he cannot, if he still do what he does for the last 2 years with 20 goals only, that's not good enough for me. He's not fight anymore. You can see he's not want to fight, and he have no fight anymore. That's something I think he loses on his skill.
Well, so here, okay, Coach, interesting point when you frame it that way, because really, so, if you look at Gallagher and Anderson as the total piece, like the total cap space that they take together, I think they might be forced to trade Anderson because I don't think they'll be able to trade Gallagher. But I think anybody in this chat or anybody, that watches hockey would agree that if you could pick which player that you would choose to keep between Gallagher and Anderson, even though we love Gallagher, I think Anderson has more upside over the next 3-4 years than Gallagher does, right? But Anderson is the more movable asset just because he is more valuable in terms of on the ice, right? So ultimately if they come to a point where they know they're ready to take that next step, say kind of like where Detroit is going to be next year, or they should have been in the last couple of years, just because I still have to continue picking on Detroit for KLS, then and Kent Hughes wants to kind of make that move and needs the cap space to add a piece. One thing, Coach, though, is you said, oh yeah, they can add like somebody in their top 6 for the same amount of money as Anderson. I don't think so, man. Like with the cap going up, like look, Nylander is going to get like almost $10 million. Like a top 6 player is going to cost you $9 to $10 million.
But that's my point. So you take the 5.5 to Anderson and you add the money you're going to get more for the next 2 years, and you get that players. A 40, a 80. Montreal does not have a player elite. They have a good player. They don't have a player can score 90 point, 80 point. That was my theory behind Anderson. You get that money, Anderson, and then you get the money they have in the bank at the salary cap, and then you get that player can give you a 90 point, a 85 point, a 40 goal. That's what I'm talking about. Because right now, Anderson is your top line.
I think Anderson's future will sort of be dictated on the development of Slafkovsky. If he comes along and he starts playing like he's supposed to and has been anticipated to play, then he can definitely take over a lot of the things that he does, Anderson, and therefore makes him more expendable.
What point here? Go ahead. Sorry.
Very good point, Enortap. And it just reminds me, like, did we forget that we drafted a number 1 overall player last year? Like Slafkovsky is going to be a good player, right? Like I know there's still a lot of people, a lot of fans have just completely given up on him, right? But man, again, I don't think he's going to be an elite player, but sometimes I just forget. Oh yeah, like we drafted someone 1st overall. He's going to be pretty good, right? He's going to be a good player.
Yeah,
He's not going to be
Absolutely.
Matthews. He's not going to be McDavid. But man, I just wish fans were a little bit more optimistic with Slafkovsky and give him a bit of a break here and believe in him a little bit more. I'm excited. That's probably the thing I'm the most excited for this year. Watching Kirby Dach, see if he continues to progress, and Slafkovsky. Those are going to be the two most exciting things to watch.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I think Sarkozy for me is just a question of take a time. And it just take 2-3 years before really we know exactly what Anderson is going to go, what Sarkozy is going to do about this. Great question for Maurice. You have a couple of comments about this in the chat too. Anderson would use be forced to retain salary. That will be the last question before we move on to the game tonight, guys. So what do you think about that? Do you think the Montreal are going to hold the money or retain some money on Anderson or not, Marko?
Well, I don't. Again, I would be.
They might have to.
I'd be surprised that they would be trading Anderson this year. Because based on what we just said, that means that Kent Hughes thinks that he's ready to go out and maybe sign a free agent the year after. I don't think it's next year even that they're going to be ready to do that unless the opportunity is really good. So I don't know. It's so hard to project what the market is going to be a year or two from now when they trade Anderson. But again, like the cap is going to go up, right? 5.5 million. I know everybody thinks it's the worst contract or one of the worst in the NHL. To me, like, by the time, let's say they trade him, not this year, but next year, he's going to only have 2 years left at 5.5. So I don't know if they would be forced to take contract, to take money back on it. And I know, like, it's, even though he just did it with Petry, I don't think it's something that he wants to do very often. And that would be like, that would be more than 1 year that they're holding salary for a player like that. And don't forget, you can only have, I think, two trades where you retain salary, right? So Montreal already has one. So in order for them to use up that second spot, I think it's two.
Is it?
Yeah. The it's 3, and then you can only retain twice the salary cap of the players.
Okay, I thought it was only 2.
Right.
Well, okay,
but now I don't want to get. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm pretty sure.
I mean, either way, I agree. Like, I don't think Hughes wants to retain any money. I mean, any good GM, I don't think wants to get into that predicament. But it's is he slightly overpaid for what he produces statistically? Yes, there's no doubting that. But
100% with you, 100%. I don't like agreeing with you too much. This gets boring.
We want to welcome a few people in the chat, guys. We have Roger Delaney knocked the door. Ryan back in the house tonight. Welcome back, Ryan. And then we have someone else pop up. I forgot. Roger Bouchard back in the house, guys. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. And the answer, guys, Randy, confirmed is 3. So I just want to. Again, it's not you, Marko. It's just to tell the right thing. Everybody's and then finally is my long-term injury reserve, guys. The fact that Carey Price is in the book, that give more flexibility I can use. For Montreal Canadiens get an asset. Example, if October a team want to be under the salary cap and they have a player, they have a bad contract for 1 more year for this final year contract. Example like Tyler Myers, example with the Vancouver Canucks. Montreal Canadiens have those kind of flexibility to pick up that contract, to request a first-round pick, exactly what they did with Sean Mannion last year, and then they can get that players and they get a first-round pick. This is the reason behind they have more flexibility during the year to switching player up and down with a $6, $7, $8 million under cap. This is the reason why they want to accomplish this, and they have the chance to do it. So maybe can you have more ideas, more possible trade in the next couple of weeks, a month in front of him for sure about that. NHL Hockey News report guy is in the chat. He was a number 18 subscriber 4 years ago. NHL still a super great to see that, Mr. NHL. We really appreciate to be with us from Connecticut. The guys, you have a YouTube channel too if you want to go for his channel. But Really a pleasure to have him aboard. Obviously, we don't talk like he was in the past, but we appreciate a lot Mr. NHL Hockey News Report to be a part of the show. Anything you want to add? Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. We're going to move on for the game we got in front of us to see what we look like. Tonight will be between Mr. Enortap and Mr. Marko on that one. Before we go to the French equals, we're going to do the game for the tic-tac-toe game between Enortap and Marko. I'm going to add more my subject about this one there. Tonight, guys, we did not talk about the pool tonight, so let's finishing about this one over there. Semaine Montembeault, how many games start next season, Mr. Marko?
Yeah, you know what? Like I think I'll be in the minority here, and I'll say more.
Oh, we have a super sticker. Listen to the man, Mr. Roger Delaney did it again. Roger Delaney, Rivers, chop, chop, chop. He did it again, Roger Delaney. Thanks so much for the super chat tonight. Really kind of you to do that. Really nice for you. Another super chat.
Roger the Master. Hype,
for that one there. Sorry about that, Marko. We got excited.
Ooh, all sweaty now.
How many games?
I'll be in the minority here, Coach, and say more than 50. Not by a lot, like maybe 50 to 55 games.
Wow, that's a lot about that one over there. And Mr. Enortap?
I'll go with the second one, between 36 and 42.
47%, Mr. Enortap stay in the race about this one there. And tonight, guys, my question is, Montreal Canadiens prediction, Mike Madison. How many points next season there? Less than 35, 36-45, between 46-55, or between 56 to 65 points. More than 65 points.
Well, I think Coach predicted 85 points at the beginning earlier.
No,
this
I did
summer.
not say. I was talking about Eric Carlson. Don't say things I never said about that. But I predict over 50 points for Mike Madison, and maybe 60.
Okay.
Ooh. Wow.
Well,
I'll go between 46 and 55.
Yeah. I might be even a little. Yeah. I'm going to say 36 to 45. Coach, are you writing this down? Or are we going to come back and?
No. We're just we're going to do this more in the next couple of things about that. But about this, a lot of people in the chat, a lot of great questions. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to go on my pool every day. We do a question at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Go get on the chat and click on it. We have approximately always between 400 to 600 people participate. Wow. So they're pretty nice. We want to thank each one of you guys to do that. Easy, take 10 seconds, do it, and that'll give us a chance to talk about this the next day. We have time. I don't know, Marko, are you willing to can you stay about 10 more minutes?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, Mr. Enortap, I'm sure he wants to play that game. It's called a tic-tac-toe game for the Montreal Canadiens for the Arab Nation. Tonight, we have all the team players, and we have nothing else. It will be a little bit difficult to figure out players play for the team on the horizontal and then a team on the vertical. Example, Islanders, Carolina. Which player play over there? Islanders, Carolina, with Colorado, Boston, everything like that. We're going to now have no selection. Every time we have a selection in the chat, let me know. And Marko and Enortap, if you have a player coming on your head, on your mind, please let me know. And Coach, you're going to start right away, guys. I'm going to start right away. All right? So we'll see what happened. I don't know what happened. Looked like it disappeared about that one there. Let's see. I don't know what happened in there.
It wasn't a good choice.
It looked like they put me out of the game already. That's fine. It's not nice. I tried to click on it. They don't give it anything. Here we go. I'll go with Islanders. Easy, guys. David Taze for the New York Islanders on that one. 43%. Coach take the lead at 43. Anybody else?
I'll take
Islanders in Boston.
I'll go.
All right, Marko.
Go ahead.
Islanders in Boston. Zdeno Chara.
Oh, Chara. Could be very good, this one. 45% take the lead over me. We're going to see Marko that one over there. Andy Kuivula go with Hamilton, Boston, Calgary, guys. Boston, Calgary,
Sure.
Edmonton. Boston, Calgary, Hamilton. About this one over there. That's a good one. About this one. Doug, Hamilton. Doogie. 10% only. Enortap.
I'll go with Boston and Washington just to finish that off, that column. Let's go with Adam Oates.
Adam Oates. 6% for Mr. Enortap on that one over there. At least you get it.
They don't like it.
What's the point of this? A2 is to know about players and the future about this. Jason Williams, the Caps. All love, Capitals of the Bruins. All love, who said that? All love.
I have another one though.
Yan.
I got
So for Calgary, and Colorado.
Okay.
Calgary and Colorado.
That's the
Alex
one I was
Tanguay.
thinking.
Which one?
Hey, that's who I had.
Alex Tanguay.
Tanguay, Alex.
Tanguay.
Alex Tanguay.
Oh, that's not good.
Put the T in there. Put the T in there.
There we go.
That's not good.
10% that one over there.
Colorado.
Justin Williams. Someone said Justin Williams. Is it Washington and Carolina?
No.
Who?
He never
Who's
played
the
for
player?
Washington. Justin Williams. Justin Williams didn't play for Washington.
No. Let's see. Carolina and Washington. You can go with Mike Liu.
Oh man, do you think that's going to show up in a poll?
Carolina and Washington. Who in our top?
Mike Liu. Wow, that
Mike?
is.
I'm going back. I'm going back to my old days.
Mike, no ball.
No, Liu.
No, he said
Liut.
The goaltender. Remember?
Liut.
When you talk about it, then I have difficult time to hear you guys.
Liut. Liut.
I cannot find it here.
It's because it was in a different century.
You young kids.
Can you see it?
But just try
Spell
put
it.
L. Put L.
Just space. Put space and then L-I.
L.
I. Yeah.
Mike Liut.
There you go.
Yes.
Mike Liut. 4% about this. Wow, great call about this. Mike Liut, I did not know. Maybe with the Whalers, right?
Okay, Calgary, Carolina.
Okay.
Calgary and Carolina. Martin Gélina.
Martin Gélina. 2% about that one over there. We have the lowest one over there. Let's see what we got in the chat. Just absolutely play for the Canucks and the Caps. About this one. Islanders and Coach Anything Flame and the Canes. Flame, yeah, he's done now. We're looking for Capitals and Colorado and Carolina and Islanders.
How about Lars Eller?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Sorry
Lars
again?
Eller.
Yeah.
Lars Eller.
Yep. Lars Eller. 12% that one. We are missing one to get the last one. Islanders and Carolina. Islanders and Carolina. Anybody in the chat? We're going to give it to you. If anybody in the chat, you want to give you one, KLS should give us to us.
I think I have a way that we can totally break this software. So for Islanders and Carolina, how about Sebastian Aho?
Yeah, the same name, right?
Yeah. Is that going to break the system?
Yeah.
I think the Matrix, this is a good way to break the Matrix.
Nicolas got Ehlers. That's good. Islanders and Carolina. Anybody think about this one very quickly? Nino Niederreiter.
Doug Weight.
Is it a good one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Niederreiter. Yeah. Niederreiter or Doug Wade. Doug Wade is good too.
Nino.
We got it, 99. 157. It was not very good about this one. The average is 7.1. We'll get over that one over there. But 113 on the.
Let's see who you have there.
13,000 did it, guys, on that one over there. And that will give us our stat of the night, guys. Before we go on the Frenchy quiz, are you ready for that one over there? Frenchy quiz tonight. We're going to type one. I'm sorry about the players on the left.
Is the objective of this to try to get what most people will get, kind of like Family Feud?
Oh yeah.
Or to try to get the most unique name, because that would make a difference.
Yep, so right.
I don't know. Kind of like I think it's kind of like the Price is Right. You know, like where you're trying to get the most popular answer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So like Family Feud. Okay.
Frenchy quiz, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought take the lead with 10. Last night, we have only one winner. KLS won yesterday, 4. Unfortunately for Randy, his streak is over. He missed a game last night. The French quiz is the rules. It's like anybody in the NHL players. If you miss one game, your streak is over. So, Mr. Randy, Ironman, not good anymore on that one over there. But tonight, guys, we have 3 questions. Easy question, not difficult for Luc Laforcine. I expect Luc Laforcine, guys, go 2 and 3 tonight. I feel Luc Laforcine right now is studied a lot for the last 24 hours, and I expect him to step up and show to us, honestly, what he knows about hockey.
Mon ami.
In the last 10 seasons, which player has the most points during the first season in the NHL as a rookie? Barzal, Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon. I cannot find another M, so I go with Hershire.
Oh, wow. Hershire.
So that's what we got right there. There we go. We'll see who is going to get that answer tonight. Oh, coach, the time, of course. I start the time. Good luck, everybody. Danny can step up tonight. Will be interesting to see that.
Welcome back, Danny.
Yeah, back from vacation. Here we go. A to go with C. Thank you so much. B for KLS. Yan with M for M. Nicolas go with C. Thanks so much. Roger with C, Ran with D, Run with A, Look with A, double A, W, C for Mr. WH. Claude Richard with B. Thanks so much, Claude. I appreciate a lot. Luke from British Columbia in the house. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. That'd be really should a lot. Gary with B, RJ with B. Danny with B, Real Deal with B. A lot of people about Matthews. Andy with A, Jan with A. And then Andrew O'Connor. Welcome back, Andrew. Thanks so much to be with us tonight. We start with the winner of the leader, Mr. Enortap.
Oh, the obvious one always sounds like McDavid, so I'm not going to go with McDavid. I'll go with A, Matthew Barzal.
There we go. And Mr. Marko.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like I know that Barzal, he did win the Calder, right? So he had a good year. I think coach is a tricky man. Tricky man. Trick us with
it's not Hershey. It's not Hershiser.
It's not Heisher. I think it's pronounced Heisher. But
or Heisher.
Yeah, I'm going to say Mark Barzal.
You both right. Congratulations in our tap and Mr. Marco Larabi take the lead, followed by Mr. AK. Run with 20, Yan Genet. And who did it? Luc Laforcine did it, ladies and gentlemen. He scored the first goal of the night. He's on the roll. And Luc Laforcine, I predict Luc is going to get 2 and 3 tonight, guys. I'm telling you, I feel it. I feel that L'Angel is going to get it tonight. Remember, we do a lot of game under, over, and exact last season. Now I'm back with this one. How many times QM players draft first overall pick in the NHL history? Since 1963.
Since 63.
How many QM got draft first overall pick? 10 is the number we're looking for. Is it under, over, or exact? A little bit easy for everybody. Here we go. The time, coach.
Coach, did you go looking at this after you were talking with Michael about how the Q doesn't develop good hockey players anymore?
Ron, go with 20. Thanks so much, Ron. First of this, we have Mr. B. Luke, Ran with A, Yan with B. We have GP16 back in the house, GP. Thanks so much. Appreciate a lot. With B. NHL Roger, go with C. Danny with C. Claude Richard with A. Thanks so much, Claude. We have Randy Walkman with A. Nicolas de Goubi-Bono, go with C. Andy, go with C. RJ, go with A. Rail Deal with A. We have Luc Laforson with C. A2 with A. We have GP with B, and then we have Gary Cournoyer with A. Thanks so much, Coach. I got that first answer right. Mr. Randy said he was right, the first answer. Let's call DeWitt. Hold on. Let me talk with DeWitt to confirm about that one over there. We would like to know if Randy Walkman on the first answer have the right answer about that one there. Randy said the answer of that one, guys. I don't know. Randy look like on the back here. I know I'm waiting right now, but Randy said A. You're absolutely right, Mr. Randy. We're going to give you DeWitt confirm you are right about that one over there. Congratulations about that one over there. Look at person with C, GP with B, Enortap. Let's go with you.
I don't know if it's that high. I'm going to go under A.
Under, all right. And Mr. Marko.
See, Coach, as a proud Quebecer, you wouldn't put a question where you're highlighting how little French Canadian players got drafted number one overall. Like, that would be very anti-Quebec of you. But I still think I agree with Enortap. Like, I just went through the numbers in my head. I think it would be high, so I'm going to go under. Even though, and if it is under, Coach, then you should be embarrassed as a Quebecer to have.
You are not right, both of you, because the answer is over. With 11 players make it, guys. We have only Yann Gionnet take the lead at 2 right now, 2 and 2. And we have GP, Randy Walkman, of course, at the number 1. And then Mr. Luke are the good answer, number 2. And that's what we got. 11 players did it from NHQM. So, Marko, you're right about this. I have to go with over. I thought you were going to go that direction, but...
I thought you were trying to trick me. Vive le Québec.
Vive le Québec. Last question tonight.
Hey, no fighting. No fighting.
Enortap?
No fighting, please.
All right, sound good. Enortap, cut the music. What is the longest winless straight season for the Boston Bruins? The longest winless streak. So they don't win any game for how many game? Is it 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 game? The longest winless straight and one regular season. Good luck, everybody.
Oh, my God!
That was Luc Laforson scream from Angel. Normally, one coach, but exactly that's the answer, Roger. A2 go with 22. A2 is 02, by the way. I don't want to mention this. It's just sharing with you. Ron with King, D, and Brian go with B. Thanks so much, Ryan. Welcome back, guys. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. We are at 54, 53 right now. We have Nicolas with C. Gary Cournoyer with C. Andy Coivula with C. Claude Richard with C, Real Deal with A. Luc with E. We have triple W with C2. Roger with D. Andrew, I'm kidding. Andrew said that about this one over there. Then we have Yann Genet with E. Luc Lafortune with D. And then GP with A. KLS with C. Andy with A. Bring on Merchant as a special guest for the next tic-tac-toe without the kissing. Richard Dawson. Danny go with awesome. C. So the time, Mr. Marko, we go to start that one over there.
Man, so this is a total. I'm just guessing here. I have no idea. Can you give us a hint, Coach? Like, what year did this happen? Like, was this in
1961, 62?
Well, I wasn't even born, man. Like, so
I was gonna say it's in this. It has to be in the 60s. It has to be.
Yeah. So I'll say. So I don't know, man. Like, let's go with number 8. We'll go see 18 games. We'll go in the middle.
18 game for Marko Larrabee and Mr. Enortap.
I was gonna say 18.
So can I give you a tip helping you guys?
I'm gonna go with D.
After I already gave my answer, then you're gonna give us a tip, okay?
No, I was after that. Enortap, you said what?
D, 20.
D for Mr. Enortap at 20 or that. Yann Genet said E. If it's right, the game is over, right? But if it's wrong and the answer could be that letter, but maybe you can win tonight. He did it again in the top and tie the game. And Yann Genet is wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, my prediction, Luc Lafortune, Yann Genet, Run with Kings are the winner of the contest tonight with Mr. Enortap. 4 winner of the tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What a great game for everybody on that one. Congratulations. Wow.
I'd like to thank Marko. I like to thank Marko because I was going to go with 18, but I just wanted to be different.
You did it very well to get that one over there. Luc Lafortune, guys, win tonight. 2-3 was my prediction of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Yann Genet won tonight. And then we have Run with Kings, and then Enortap, 4 winner of the contest tonight. Wow, what a great show tonight at the Habs Barbecue Show. We want to thank all the moderators tonight at the show tonight. We have Ron, we have Luciano, Danny. Thanks so much to be a part of the show tonight. I really appreciate all the moderators. But the co-host, guys, you did a very great job. Marko again, and then Enortap. What a great night at the Habs Barbecue Show. And what about the people in the chat? They delivered over 54 likes so far. And a lot of people will show up, and there are a lot of great conversation between all of them. What a great show. This is the show we're looking for the upcoming season. We are back Sunday night, guys, for another Habs Nation show. Then we'll be back Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. It's the summertime until the Labor Day weekend. We're going to deliver only 4 shows per week, Sunday to Wednesday night. Before we leave, guys, what are your expectations? Do you expect something could happen with the Montreal Canadiens the next 7 days, Mr. Marko?
I don't expect anything could happen. Like, I think the GMs are kind of taking it easy right now. I would be surprised if something happened, but it's not impossible. It sounds like Kent Hughes told DeSmith to just kind of take it easy and not worry about it. So I don't think there's going to be any news.
What about you, Mr. Enortap?
I think there definitely will be, but probably not right away. But definitely before the beginning of the season.
Yep, right about this right now. I appreciate that we guys to be with us, but without. Before we leave, guys, we want to remind everybody because you are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, he has greatness inside of him. Marko Larrabee, the legend, and after did it again with the contest friendship quiz. I can wait to see you until the next show next week. Until then, guys, of course, we want to thank all everybody in the chat. And of course, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate what, Mr. Enortap?
Your 2023.
He did it again. An amazing, great week, everybody. We'll see you next week for another Habs Barbecue Show. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Guys. Good night, Hockey Nation.
Booyah!